Hello, this is Mrs. Cruz, and we are going to be looking at Thursday's reading task right now, pages 23 to 33 of Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, chapter 9. Well, we're going into chapter 9, and we're going to be looking at the third text-minute question. So, in our last reading, we were looking at this question, the fact that Caleb Wallace and Harlan Granger show up to Cassie's school, and we find out why. And if you're a fan of Mama, like I am, it's a scene that makes me very angry because we know that they show up and basically fire her on the spot. So if you remember why, they fire her because she's teaching something that she's not supposed to in their eyes. And they also check to see that she damaged, and I'm saying like quote unquote damaged here because we know that she just hid the page that had the condition of the book. Okay, so we left off kind of like answering this question, knowing that Miss Logan knows that, or Mama knows that they're there as kind of like a retaliation or revenge because they're upset about the fact that they're getting people to shop somewhere else other than the Wallace store. Okay. And where we left off in this last reading was a very intense moment because the Logan children end up finding out why did Harlan Granger and Mr. Wallace show up there. Well, they were tipped off by none other than TJ, and he's the one that kind of told on Mama and made her lose her job. And we left off kind of here, like where he's basically trying to play it off like he didn't do it at first. So I think we're going to reread a little bit of that because it's a really good scene in terms of it being very interesting, but also very upsetting, right? Okay, before we get started, we know that we're going to stop at page 33, so I'm going to mark that off first. So we're going to be stopping on page 33, so I'm just going to highlight this one green since that's going to be our stopping place. Then we'll go back to where we left off, and as I mentioned, I'm going to go back a little bit more so that we can see what. Maybe we'll start here. "Hey man," TJ exclaimed, grinning his easy grin, but then finding that the grin and the smooth words no longer worked, his face dropped. "Oh, all right. So maybe what if I did say something about Miss Logan? I can't even remember saying nothing about it, but if both Little Willie and Clarence said I did, then maybe I did. Anyways, I'm real sorry about your mama losing her job and..." So I'm going to remove this. All of us, including Claude, stared distastefully at TJ and walked away from him. "Hey, wait, I said I was sorry, didn't I?" he asked, following us. "Look, what's a fellow gotta do anyway? Hey, y'all, look, this here is still old TJ. I ain't changed. Y'all can't turn on me just 'cause." "You the one that turned, TJ," Stacy called over his shoulder. "Now leave us alone. We don't want no more to do with you." TJ, for the first time comprehending that we were no longer his friends, stopped. Then, standing alone in the middle of the road, he screamed after us. "Who needs y'all anyway? I've been tired of y'all always hanging around for a long while now. But I've been too nice to tell ya. I should have known better. What I look like having a bunch of little kids around all the time, and me here 14, near grown." We walked on, not stopping. "Got me better friends than y'all. They give me things and treat me like I'm a man, and they white, too." His voice faded into the wind as we left him, and we heard no more. So that's the end of chapter 8. It's a pretty big moment there, because, as we know, TJ's always been rough, especially as a friend, but Stacey has forgiven him, even when he, tricked him into, giving him his coat. Stacey forgave him right away, even when, Stacey took the hit for TJ cheating the first time, Stacey still forgave him, but now we know that he's crossed the line because TJ brought a lot of pain to their mom, so that's a really powerful moment. Okay, so let's keep going to chapter 9, because now we see, going back to our question, we're going to see, what does Jeremy tell them about TJ, so we're going to find out a little bit more. Chapter 9, Spring. It seeped unseen into the waiting red earth in early March, softening the hard ground for the coming plow and awakening life that had lain gently sleeping through the cold winter. But by the end of March it was evident everywhere. In the barn where 3 new calves bellowed, and chicks the soft pale sunlight chirped. In the yard where the wisteria and the English dogwood bushes readied themselves for their annual Easter bloom, and the fig tree budded, producing the forerunners of juicy brown fruit, for which the boys and I would have to do the battle with fig-loving Jack. And in the smell of the earth itself, rain-drenched, fresh, vital, full of life, spring enveloped all of us. I was eager to be in the fields again, to feel the furrowed rows of damp, soft earth beneath my feet, eager to walk barefooted through the cool forest, hug the trees, and sit under their protective shadow. But although every living thing knew it was spring, Miss Crocker and the other teachers evidently did not, for school lingered on indefinitely. In the last week of March, when Papa and Mr. Morrison began to plow the east field, I volunteered to sacrifice school and help them. My offer was refused, and I trudged wearily to school for another week. So here we get more insight to Cassie, and we see more proof that she doesn't really like school, and she really appreciates nature and likes being outdoors. So for her, it's taking forever for summer to come. Well, in this case, the end of school to come. I guess I won't be seeing much of y'all after next Friday, said Jeremy one evening as we neared his forest trail. Guess not, said Stacy. Be nice if our schools ended at the same time. You crazy, I cried, remembering that Jefferson Davis didn't dismiss until mid-May. Jeremy stammered an apology. I just meant we could still see each other. He was silent a moment, then brightened. Maybe I can come over to see y'all sometime. Stacy shook his head. Don't think Papa would like that. Well, I just thought, he shrugged, it'll sure be lonely without y'all. Lonely? I asked. With all them brothers and sisters you got? Jeremy frowned. The little ones, they too young to play with. And the older ones, Lily and Jean and R.W. and Melvin, I guess I don't like them very much. What you saying? Asked Stacy. You can't not like your own brothers and sisters. Well, I can understand that, I said soberly. I sure don't like them. Oh, so Cassie says that, sorry. But they're his kin. A fellow's gotta like his own kin. Jeremy thought about that. Well, Lillian Jean's all right, I guess. She ain't too persnickety since Cassie stopped being her friend. He smiled a secret smile to himself. But that R.W. and Melvin, they ain't very nice. You ought to see how they treat TJ. He halted, looked up embarrassed, and was quiet. Okay, so this is where we're actually answering the next question, so we should go back and review it. So remember that we're looking at question number 3. What does Jeremy say about how his brothers treat TJ? So let's designate maybe a light yellow for this. Oops. Should be the highlighter, sorry. Oh, see, another mistake. I wanted the light yellow. Okay, light yellow. Okay, so let's see what he says about how his brothers treat TJ. Okay, so Stacy stopped. How they treat him? Jeremy stopped too. I don't know, he said, as if he was sorry he had mentioned it. They just don't do him right. How? Asked Stacy. Thought you didn't like him no more. Well, I don't, replied Stacy defensively, but I heard he was running around with R.W. Melvin. I wonder why. Them brothers of yours, they must be 18 or 19. Jeremy looked up at the sun, squinted, then glanced up at his forest trail a few feet ahead. They brung TJ by the house a couple times when Pa wasn't home. They treated him almost friendly-like, but when he left, they laughed and talked about him, calling him names. He squinted again at the trail and said hurriedly, I better go. See y'all tomorrow. Okay, so here we have how they're treating him. So they're saying to his face, they brought him and they were nice to him. And then as soon as he left, they were laughing at him and calling him names. Okay. Mama, how come you suppose R.W. and Melvin putting in time with TJ? I asked as I measured out 2 heaping tablespoons of flour for the cornbread. Mama frowned down in the flour barrel. Only 1 tablespoon, Cassie, and not so heaping. But Mama, we always use 2. That barrel will have to last us until Papa goes back to the railroad. Now put it back. As I returned 1 tablespoon of flour to the barrel, I again asked, what do you think, Mama? How come them Sims is running around with TJ? Okay, so just to pause really quick here, we see that TJ is now hanging out with RW and Melvin, so Jeremy's older brothers. We see that it's kind of people are questioning it because, for one, we know that Jeremy's family is white, and we know that, Papa already told them, like, white people and black people weren't necessarily friends during this time. And then we also see that the other part that makes it strange is the fact that RW and Melvin are a lot older than TJ is. Like, they're already adults, basically. Okay, so let's see what Mama has to say about it. Mama measured out the baking powder and gave it to me. It was a teaspoon less than we had been using, but I didn't ask her about it. It was running low, too. I don't really know, Cassie, she said, turning to the stove to stir milk into the butter beans. They may just want him around because it makes them feel good. When TJ's around me, he don't make me feel good. Well, you told me Jeremy said they were laughing at TJ behind his back. Some folks like to keep other folks around to laugh at them, use them. I wonder how come TJ don't know they're laughing at him. You suppose he's that dumb? TJ's not dumb, Cassie. He just wants attention, but he's going after it the wrong way. I was going to ask what use TJ could possibly be to anyone, but I was interrupted by Little Man running to the kitchen. Mama, he cried, Mr. Jameson just drove up. He had been in the barn cleaning the chicken coop with Christopher John, and stubby particles of straw still clung to his head. I grinned at his mussed appearance, but didn't have time to tease him before he was gone again. Mama looked at Big Ma, a question in her eyes, and followed Little Man outside. I decided that the cornbread could wait and dashed after them. Girl, get back in here and finish mixing this cornbread, ordered Big Ma. Yes, I said. I'll be right back. Before Big Ma could reach me, I was out the back door, running across the yard to the drive. Mr. Jameson touched his hat as Mama approached. How you doing, Miss Logan? He asked. Just fine, Mr. Jameson, Mama answered. And yourself? Fine, fine, he said absently. Is David here? He's over in the east field, Mama studied Mr. Jameson. Anything wrong? Oh, no. Just wanted to speak to him. Little man, Mama said, turning. Go get Papa. Oh, no, don't do that. I'll just walk over there if that's all right. I need the exercise. Mama nodded, and after he had spoken to me, Mr. Jameson crossed the yard to the field. Little man and I started to follow after him, but Mama called us back and returned us to our jobs. Mr. Jameson didn't stay too long. A few minutes later, he emerged from the field alone, got into his car, and left. When supper was ready, I eagerly grabbed the iron bell before Christopher John or Little Man could claim it, and ran onto the back porch to summon Papa, Mr. Morrison, and Stacy from the fields. As the 3 of them washed up on the back porch, Mama went to the end of the porch where Papa stood alone. What did Mr. Jameson want? She asked, her voice barely audible. Papa took the towel Mama handed him, but did not reply immediately. I was just inside the kitchen, dipping out the butter beans. I moved closer to the window so that I could hear his answer. Don't keep anything from me, David. If there's trouble, I want to know. Papa looked down at her. Nothing to worry about, honey. Just seems that Thurston Wallace been in town talking about he's not going to let a few smart colored folks ruin his business. Says he's going to put a stop to the shopping in Vicksburg. That's all. Mama sighed and stared across the plowed field to the sloping pasture land. I'm feeling scared, David, she said. Papa put down the towel. Not yet, Mary. It's no time to be scared yet. They're just talking. Mama turned and faced him. And when they stop talking? Then maybe it'll be time. But right now, pretty lady, he said, leading her by the hand toward the kitchen door. Right now, I've got better things to think about. Quickly, I poured the rest of the butter beans into the bowl and hurried across the kitchen to the table. As Mama and Papa entered, I slid onto the bench beside Little Man and Christopher John. Papa beamed down at the table. Well, look at here, he exclaimed. Good old butter beans and cornbread. You better come on, Mr. Morrison. You too, son. He called. These women folks done gone and fixed us a feast. Okay, so in the next video, we will continue reading this, but we want to ask a question like, why, once again, did Mr. Jameson visit them on their field? So think about that for part 2.